Not listed yet, independent.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
I believe it's 6 o'clock. Sorry.
Good evening, welcome. This is a regular meeting of the City Council for the City of Trinidad. Will you all please stand for the flag salute?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is roll call.
DeBono?
Here.
Shu?
Here.
Thurman?
Here.
Trahell?
Here.
Ogletree? Williamson?
Present.
Griego?
Here. Item number 2, approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any changes on the agenda?
I move to amend the agenda, please, to move section 3, policy items and staff reports, to follow section 4, petitions and communications.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Second.
Motion?
Motion.
Yeah.
So moved.
No, I'm sorry, second.
Yeah,
I'm
that's what I was
sorry.
gonna say second.
Sorry, you guys are slipping on. Call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Trahell?
Yes.
Ogletree? Yes. Williamson?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. Item 4, petitions or communications, oral or written. The public comment section offers an opportunity for any citizen to express opinions or ask questions regarding city services, policies, or other matters of community concern, and any agenda items that are not a part of the scheduled public hearing. Those wishing to speak must sign in no later than 6 p.m. Thank you. Citizens will have 5 minutes for comments. This time limit was established to provide efficiency in the response. A response from council or staff should not be expected, as issues are typically referred to city staff for follow-up or research and are then reported back to council and the individual who initiated the comment or inquiry. Both of those parties will be notified. Written materials for presentation to council must be submitted to the city clerk as the speaker approaches the podium. The first person is Timothy Merchant. Is it Timothy Randall or Timothy Ann Randall?
Well, it's asked for my legal name, so it's Timothy Randall Merchant now.
Okay. Come on up.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Mayor, members of council, I appreciate this opportunity to address you. A long time ago, notwithstanding the other issues of homelessness and things like that, but I noticed a lady volunteer that would come down from, I don't know if it's Springs or Denver, bringing food items to the people down in Chimino Park. And one of the things that concerned me is the burritos were wrapped in foil, okay, instead of plastic wrap or something like that. Working in prison for a lot of years, okay, foil is one thing we definitely don't allow inmates to have because it is drug paraphernalia. We obviously have a serious drug problem in this community, as we do in the state. State of Colorado is number 2 in the nation in teenage fentanyl overdose deaths. That is a fact, okay? And it came to my attention last week that, I don't know if it's the same lady or not, but she's coming out and distributing what I call hit kits, drug paraphernalia. Prior to 2020, March of 2020, possession of drug paraphernalia, just possession, was a $100 fine. Now, not jail, not arrest, anything like that, but possession was a summon or a fine of $100. Since 2020, that has gone away. All right. Prior to 2020, the overdose deaths in the state of Colorado was 1,062. After that, it's 1,998. So giving out the free hit kits and everything else obviously isn't working. That's evidence-based, okay? If it was distribution of drug paraphernalia, the penalties were higher. All right, I'm not trying to give Trinidad PD any more work than they have to do, all right? But this could be done by code enforcement. The city of Trinidad is a home rule charter city, meaning even though the governor of the state of Colorado has stated that you can no longer penalize people for possession of drug paraphernalia or distribution, you can do an ordinance because as a home rule city, your rules can supersede state law, okay? I find it just strange to me that if I put out a bowl of cat food for a cat, Division of Wildlife can come give me a fine for $100. That's feeding wildlife. That's on the books. That's the way it is. And yet, we are allowing this to occur. Now, I don't know how long ago it was that the discussion with Dr. Barrett and being accosted on and all that, I'm sure that the person at the time was under the influence of something. After working in the prison system for 16 years, I would ask every inmate that I came in contact with, did you commit your offense while under the influence of something? Every single one said yes. Every single one. Okay, you folks have the ability, okay, to make a change. That whether it's positive or not, I don't know. Would it make a difference or not? I don't know. But in my opinion, I wish Bob Holder was here because when you feed wildlife, you enable wildlife to stop taking care of themselves. And I know it's a hard thing. I know that giving out this stuff and decriminalizing the drug use was a feel-good measure, but the numbers show that it's not working, folks. Everybody on this board right here has the chance to be the difference. Thank you.
Brenda Duran wants to talk about the drug problem as well.
Yes. Hello, my name is Brenda Duran and I am also here to address the drug problem.
Could you speak up just a little, please?
As
Brenda?
my son is one of those drug addicts out there. This is what's being passed out in the park. And my question is, where's it coming from? From bubble pipes to charboy, tourniquets, needles, straws, razor blades, credit cards. And I'm trying not to enable my son. But somebody's enabling this whole city. I went to the courts 4 years ago begging for help for my son. Begging. All they did was change his probation officer. And here I am 4 years later, and my son is so strung out on fentanyl. I tell the ambulance people every time I hear a siren, they just go into my son. But foils, needles, where is this coming from? I can see them beating the people, giving them clothes. Where's this coming from? And I have 2 other bags at home. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Roy Miller wants to talk about trash.
I've already provided colored photographs to the city manager. And I guess they've been out there picking up out the Cougar, or the Cougar Canyon area, some trash that's been left over. When they banned the ship out there in 2008, they left 5-gallon paint containers in it and everything. They ran it out of there like rats leaving a sinking ship. But anyway, what I provided her with was some fresh trash that somebody dumped off of Bat Masterson Drive there. We just arrived, I noticed it. So maybe, I hope the city go out there and pick that up, because it's just going to degrade and become more trash, all over the place. And maybe they could put some signage out there, something, no dumping by order of the city of Trinidad, and give them some kind of ordinance or something on there, or something like that. Because this is a continuous problem. Since they blocked off that one parking area, there's been nobody in there. no trash dumped out there, so I'm real happy with that. Those cement blocks are working. No one's gotten around them. That would be, they would get a ticket for that, I'm sure, if the police caught them. They do go down there every now and then. I do see sheriff vehicles down in there, going down Baton Anderson Drive and coming back, because it's a dead end down there. But it's a problem area. I can't understand, I got all this housing development going on all over the place, but that thing's just totally dead. Nothing's going on. I guess it costs between $300,000 to $400,000 to figure out who owes what to who on that mess. So, but if you did, maybe you could sell off some of the lots and make your money back, because there's 400 lots up there that were never issued, never used. And the plumbing's been put in, the fire hydrants are in place, the electrical boxes are in place. All they had left to do was put down a little asphalt and build some houses on the property. Everything else is there. To my knowledge, it is anyway. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that mess out there, but it's, and that the 110-room convention center's beyond repair. I don't know what you all are gonna do with it. Just let it fall on the ground and degrade or fall down, or, I mean, I'd light it on fire and invite all the fire departments out and have a big building fire and, huddle, put out building fires or something like that. Just make sure the wind's blowing that way, huh? I don't know what to do with that mess. And the other one is, the other thing is tomorrow is Food Distribution Day. I was there with American Legion. The truck dropped off, and there's no frozen foods, no, there was some canned soup, some fresh produce, and some of the macaroni and all that kind of stuff, but that's about it. It's a pretty sad truckload, and it's getting worse. I guess the Dodge thing is what I've been reading, is that 50% of that money came from the federal government, which is Elon Musk and the Dodge thing. They shut it all down. So what's left is the 50% coming from the state and some, there's some, community things involved and some church groups involved and all that. But I can't envision that program lasting that much longer. I don't know if you guys could maybe mention, hey, what's going on down here? Because we're in Trinidad, there's no boats down here hardly, and all the money's up north. All the boats are up north, so everything's gonna go up north before it's gonna come down here. So maybe, I don't know if there's any way to talk to those people up north and go, hey, what's going on with our food distribution? Because it was working out real well. The people are they're lined up all the way down to the freeway trying to get a box of food come Wednesday. Come on out and take a look at the line. They're waiting 3 hours sometimes to get a box of food. We're trying our best. The American Legion's been running for years. We do our best to issue it out, make sure everything goes smoothly through there. But it's looking pretty grim. I don't know who to talk to or what to say to anybody, or, it's just gonna shut down because we're only 37 trillion in debt. It's no big deal.
1 minute, sir.
Okay.
Sorry.
But anyway, I'll quit ramping on and I'll get out of your way. But I'm just telling you that program is looking like it's gonna come to an end. Don't have a clue what to do about it. I can't envision people waiting in line for 3 hours to get a couple cans of soup and a bag of macaroni or something. But whatever. But anyway, that's where we're at with that. If you want to see it for yourself, come on out tomorrow. Start at 10 and runs to about 1 o'clock. More than welcome to come see what's going on.
Thank you, Roy. Jan Rossetti wants to talk about citywide projects.
Madam Mayor, Council, just wanted to tell you about some citywide projects. I know the new city manager met with all department heads about citywide projects, and there's probably some she hasn't heard about, and there might be some you haven't heard about. So I'll just jump right in. First one is on Main and Maple. You notice they took out the brand new ADA handicap, and asking why. It looks like it's out of spec. Why wasn't it checked the first time? And why are we doing things twice? And the other deal is they pulled this out last week. The last 2 days there hasn't been anybody working there. Sidewalks closed off, tourist time, doesn't look good for Trinidad. Second project is Main Street from Animas to Santa Fe Trail. Haven't heard nothing on that one. The illegal crosswalk is still on. Skate park hasn't been mentioned. Pickleball court hasn't been mentioned. Lights on Garfield haven't been mentioned. Storm drainage at the Public Works building, going on 7 years of planning stages. Leach line at the Public Works building, nothing said. Storm drains inside Public Works building, still draining out into a pit straight outside. Access on Santa Fe Trail from Saddle Road to exit 11. LEA has started. Completion date will be the first week of December, so. And by watching them, it's gonna take them at least that long, if not longer. We had, these projects have been completed, which is great. First one, there was a project done at Noah's Ark on, concrete. Evidently the poop and piss didn't roll downhill, so, concrete was taken out and put back in. Problem here is, that was never put out to bid. I called and asked why. Evidently, it was under $50,000, so you don't have to put it out to bid. But they did send an email out to some contractors to get bids. Got 4 bids, 2 local, 2 out of town, come to $22,000, and the question was where'd they get the money for that? Nobody seems to know, so. We got another project, there was a leak on a resident on South Oak, further south on South Oak, water line that the city crews put in 4 years ago. Thought there was a water leak out there. Well, the city crews went out, dug it up. Thank goodness there was no leak, but city crews patched it and did all the concrete work and took care of it, all by city crews. And then tonight you're gonna be talking about paving project. Well, if you look at it, there's 4 things on this paving project. One's gonna be Garrett Drive, which is a water line that was destroyed with 30-some water breaks. Next one's Saddle Road, which is another city project done, putting in a new sewer line, which should have been done with the projects. Then you got the road from the sewer plant to the railroad tracks. Finally, you do have 1 block on Atchison, or on San Juan, from Atchison to Stonewall. That is the only block where there's residents living. Happens to be 2 houses and 1 apartment that has 4 complexes.
1 minute, sir.
So you're looking at 6 people, 6 families for paving. The other deal is, I'm not sure, I don't know what the bid's gonna come in, we'll hear it tonight, but there was $1 million in paving for this year. It was understood that, okay, there was gonna be a paving project, and what's happened in the last years is, we moved that money over into ADA corners. Well, I got the 2023, when they audit, right there in the audit, it says if you move any money from one place to another, you gotta approve it by council. That's never been approved by that. They might claim that this is part of paving, it's not. You people agreed to paving $1 million, not ADA sidewalks. So, I mean, there's just stuff here that isn't by the book, and it has to start going by the book. And I believe our new city manager will turn things around. But I just wanted to let the people of Trinidad know, before city starts any new projects, let's finish the ones we started or claimed we'd get done before we start something else. Thank you.
Going back to 3A, policy items and staff reports. Item 3A is first quarter 2025 financial report from Cheryl Navarrete, our finance director.
raise those, Mayor, if you'd like to, those, screens.
Bring it up.
I think you can if you
I can.
These might be good.
No, they're,
Oh, they're showing.
no.
Yeah, did it go off?
Can you all see that very well?
Yeah, but I can't.
You can?
I have glasses, I can see.
Me too. but Sometimes that doesn't.
remote accounts.
You good?
Me? Where?
Everyone can see? The
Yeah.
screens are on?
Good evening,
Last-
Council.
I'm sorry, the last time I hit one of these, the PD came.
PD's here.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Council, tonight, and staff, members and the audience. Tonight, we're here to discuss the first quarter 2025 financials. Of course, we always start with general fund, and we'll start with general fund revenue. General fund revenue is under collected by $466,000 through March 31st. At March 31st, 2024, revenue was $3.5 million. In comparison, today it's $3.2 million, so we're down by $216,000. Sales tax is $246,000 under collected. If we compare 2024 March to 2025 March, we are $117,000 under collected for each time, at March each year. Another portion of the under collection is $196,000 for marijuana sales tax. If we compare that to last year at this time, we had collected $282,000, which is a decrease of $85,000. At this time last year, we had 23 dispensaries open, and now we have 17 dispensaries open. That makes up the majority of the tax revenue and the under collection. Our licenses and permits are $10,000 under collected. I'd like to say this is seasonal. We see our licensing and permitting going out in the next 2 quarters because that's when the building and construction time starts. But we also have to consider that we haven't collected a few marijuana licenses because the shops have closed. Our intergovernmental revenue is under by $124,000. This fund is grant related, so it's based on grant reimbursement requesting. We have collected through January and February. We're catching up on March and April because we were in the middle of the audit. We didn't get some of those grants collected. But this line item also contains severance tax, and severance tax won't be collected till September, so that's skewing the number somewhat. I believe we budgeted $250,000 for severance tax. Our charges for services are $90,000 under collected. This particular this particular section includes swimming pool revenue, wildfire suppression revenue. Both of those have not been collected to date. And then it also lists the $35,000 we collected for the fee increased revenue, charging for the rentals of our parks and those types of fees. We did invoice, I believe, TSC for a portion of that. However, we haven't received it, and if we do, it'll be recognized in the second quarter. Fines and forfeitures are also under collected by $26,000. If you remember, Acting Chief Tahanovich presented the PD LiDAR system. We were banking on $80,000 in revenue for that system. However, they haven't made the decision to move forward with that, so we haven't collected the money under the LiDAR. So that's definitely skewing the fines and forfeitures funding. And then finally, in library, we're under collected by $2,000. This is also grant related. Jessica has started billing under the grant, and we received a portion of that today, and that'll catch itself up in the next couple of quarters.
And then we have animal shelter revenue. This one was a hard target to nail down because we didn't really know where we would end up last year. If you take a look at library revenue, I'm sorry, animal shelter revenue for 2024, we ended up collecting $130,000. If you recall, we did get a reimbursement from Noah's Ark by $81,000. So technically, animal shelter revenue was around $50,000 for 2024. So when I budgeted $75,000 for 2025, it was a little too much. Unless we start getting some grants going, that's hopefully in the future we can collect some more grants to help sustain that department. But other than that, that department is mostly sustained by general fund other revenues. And in the end, again, our revenue is under budget by $466,000. Are there any questions?
Mr. Williamson?
I have no questions at this time, Mark.
No questions.
I just had one. Cheryl, is there a grace period for any sales tax delinquencies, either business, whether it's a dispensary or any other business? Like from 2024, if they haven't paid?
2024, we've collected everything. We do assess late fees. There are a few dispensaries that didn't report, or they reported they didn't pay and then closed. So those are probably gonna be write-offs because I don't believe we'll ever collect that amount. As far as 2025, there's a few dispensaries that are late. It's not significant to make a difference in this amount, but again, when they do remit, they will be charged. They will be assessed a late fee.
Okay.
Ms. Navarette, on the animal shelter, the revenue side, does this account for the increases in fees that we've approved earlier
It does
this
not.
year?
It does not, that's correct, I forgot about that. So no, it does not. Well, I budgeted 75,000, but probably should have budgeted 50,000, so hopefully that'll make up the difference when those new fees are assessed.
And where does, I know that we're starting to receive some income from Space to Create rentals, is that accounted for somewhere else?
That would be under, where is that? It's going to be under charges for services, similar to swimming pool revenues. And yes, we are collecting some fees there. It's actually coming in rather nicely. I should have broken that out for you, so I can get that and get it to city manager and have her send that out to where what we've collected so far.
Okay, thank you.
I have no questions.
Alrighty, we're gonna move on to the general fund expenditures. So as of March 31st, 2025, our expenditures are $3,363,000, and we are $686,000 underexpended, which is good. Departments are staying within their budgets. It's a good report. However, we'll highlight a few of the over expenditures at this time, which would be City Council, who is not staying under its budget. So 40 lashes for City Council. So a lot of that has to do with the CML dues that are due at the first of the year. We pay those out. It'll level itself throughout the year, as well as travel for CML. So the training budget is overexpended at this time. Muni Court is also overexpended by $7,900. This is, if you recall, during budget time when we gave up a position and combined a position. So Muni Court staff was supposed to be combined with development services, build permit tech. Well, what ended up happening is development services kept the permit tech. They're able to handle the job by themselves, and Muni Court ended up getting the bulk of that salary. So the person that's hired for Muni Court is completely charged to Muni Court instead of 50-50. Either way, whether it had been charged to development services and Muni Court split out evenly, they're both under the general fund, so Muni Court's probably just gonna run itself over this year. Also overexpended is IT by $70,000. That's because at the beginning of the year, IT creates purchase orders for all the memberships and subscriptions and software and everything at the beginning of the year. So that it takes a big hit from the first 2 quarters and hopefully levels itself out by the end of the year. Marijuana revenues projects are also overexpended by $22,000. This is because I want to say in November or December of last year, our council approved 3rd quarter marijuana expenditures. Well, by the time they got it ordered and purchased, everything started to come in at the first of the year. So marijuana revenues are, that particular line item is seeing the result of Q3 marijuana expenditures. Also overexpended is our miscellaneous. We recently paid out for the audit, so that's a big lump sum in the 1st quarter. And we also have the golf club memberships. We pay that out at the first of the year, but then that money is reimbursed through staff's deductions at the end of the year. So we withhold from staff payroll to pay for their memberships at the golf course. And those will get replenished by December, at the end of December. Facilities maintenance is also overexpended. At the beginning of the year, we put out our janitorial contracts. We create purchase orders for the rest of the year, and so that's why that one's overexpended at this time. The bulk of those will be janitorial contracts. Also, I forgot, miscellaneous also contains the job search for police chief. That was not budgeted. We also went out and hired another company, so that one hasn't been budgeted, and that'll overexpend our miscellaneous line item. Finally, engineering is overexpended, and after some research, it looks like one of our employees was supposed to be moved into the public works department. We are going to reallocate that position and move those fees or those wages and benefits into public works, and then engineering will be back in balance. Are there any questions regarding other expenditures?
Erin, do you have any questions?
I know you're going to go over different departments. I'm noticing something that I've noticed over the years, and I wonder if it's true. Sometimes we laud a department because it's got a favorable balance, but that sometimes reflects that work that the city manager, the city council has directed be done hasn't been done. I wonder sometimes if projects are delayed because of concerns about budgeting and whether the money will actually be there. I just wonder about that.
So if it's budgeted at the beginning of the year, are we talking about capital projects?
No, just about, for instance, Parks and Recreation, the budget through March to be expended is $141,817, but actually has been spent is $107,529, leaving a favorable balance of $34,289. So I'm just wondering, are they delaying expenses that they normally would have come through by March, or?
No. So that $34,000 overage is for swimming pool staff, and they haven't started up. Well, they're started up now, but we won't see those expenditures until the next 2 quarters.
Okay, so maybe the budget then should be adjusted to have it fall in the quarter that it actually is spent or something. I'm just thinking that would make it more clear, because it makes it look like, oh, look, they're not spending money, but they are going to.
They will,
It's just
yes.
not in that season.
It would be nearly impossible to split out those expenses. So we're basing them on 4 quarters of a year. We're dividing by 4. I mean, there's too many moving parts to say Parks and Rec should expend this much by March, because, I mean, it may be able to be done, but it's just really a big task to ask something like that.
Okay.
So,
I understand.
I mean, I can look into that, but that's getting too far into the weeds, so.
I just think it should affect the way that we view, when a department has saved money, that it you know, it may or may not reflect that they're actually doing that, they're just either the time for that expense hasn't come, and a lot of times you explain that.
That's
in
exactly
discussion.
what's happening.
So,
Public Works as well, they're hiring several seasonal staff members, so they're also underexpended, but in the next 2 quarters, they're gonna catch themselves up just like that.
I understand.
Eli, do you have
No, ma'am.
No, none.
No.
No questions.
I don't have any questions per se, but just, I did want to comment and, not in challenging anything that Councilwoman Ogletree said, but, she very often brings up super valid points, so I just wanted to make the observation, at other places I've worked too, we do the annualized budget for the very same reason, but it does highlight the importance and need of having the people over the departments to have the familiarity with their budget, and also, which I'm super grateful you knew right where that 34K is supposed to go. So I'm sure all of us are appreciative of that fiscal discipline that's exercised. So thank you.
That's it. How do you remember all this stuff? Because like, in the marijuana money, you said that we had projects left over. Do you actually record all that, and then it's like a balance that's brought over? Credit balance, or?
Sometimes we will carry it forward, knowing, so if they are gonna buy a car and it was supposed to come in December and it didn't, and we know in enough time, we'll move it into the next year.
Okay.
But some of these marijuana expenditures, we just didn't know, and we missed a few. We figured they'd be in by December, and they just
Well,
weren't.
it's been crazy the past
Mhm.
5 years with
Right,
supplies and stuff.
so I didn't move some of those expenses over. When I do that, we will see it in reserves. We use budgeted
Okay.
reserves because obviously we're trying to balance the budget, and we don't wanna make the budget bigger than it is by refunding projects that were already funded to the prior year. So that's why you would see that in reserves.
Okay,
Mhm.
alrighty.
And then when I see items posting to lines that don't have any budget, of course I jump right in and figure out why. Why is something posting to a line item that has a 0 budget?
Thank you.
Alrighty, any more questions, or we'll move on to Power and Light if there are no more questions. So Power and Light at March 31st, our revenues are above the budgeted amount by $22,000. And I'm going to attribute that to the rate increase that was implemented March 1st. So March 1st, the rates increased for Power and Light, and at March 31st, revenues are over 2024 revenues by 29,000. So there's our difference right there. Our expenditures are under budget by $20,000. We have spent $2 million in operating expenses this time. And again, like I said, we're under by $20,000. We are recognizing the rate decrease by our power, or by ARPA. So we're seeing a little bit of a decrease there. And then our distribution and operating expense is over a little bit, but we're buying transformers, we're charging them off to that line item, and then we're collecting for the customers that are paying for those transformers, and then I'll do a journal entry upon receipt, and we'll put it against that, and we'll bring that back into balance. Are there any questions regarding Power and Light?
I had a question if I may, Mayor. With the software that we use, Waterworth,
Yes.
this may not be a question that's immediately able to be answered, but I think it would be worth one knowing. In the event that we do have a budget that's continually increasing in a positive way, and it can be attributed to the increased rate potentially, and as well as good fiscal discipline, how long would we have to have that positive growing budget before we would look at a negative rate adjustment?
I would think it would have I mean, I know that Linda and the superintendents of their each utility are supposed to revisit this in August.
Okay.
And at that time, they'll know if it was too much of an increase or, again, you recall, we implemented these increases because Power and Light Department has a $4 million project coming up.
Right.
So we have to build that reserve to be able to cover that project.
But I mean, that is the power of Waterworth, right? It can
Correct.
forecast that and still maintain if we're over or under collecting.
Yes,
So,
it will
okay.
tell us. Mhm.
All right,
That's
thank
correct.
you.
Mhm.
I would say generally with operation O&M costs, you want at least 110% of your O&M. So I think we would need to be upwards of 120, 125 O&M before we think about that without a project in the
Okay.
future. As Ms. Navarette mentioned, does that help?
It is, thank you.
Okay. Sorry, sure.
Do you have any questions?
No questions.
Anybody? Speak now or forever hold your peace on RMI. Okay.
Alrighty, we will move on to water. At March 31st, 2025, our water revenue is $803,000, and we are $164,000 under collected. Again, this is a seasonal fund. We see most of the activity in the next 2 quarters. I will mention that the rate increase that went into effect March 1st yielded a $6,000 increase over what we collected at this time last year. Our operating expenses total $908,000, and we are $145,000 under budget. And that's one I might not have taken a peek at. I'm gonna have to figure out. Oh, I know. Gil with North Lake has a grant, I believe, or a project coming up, $100,000 feasibility, no, one of those studies.
Yes.
A study. So there's probably, that's a portion of it. I don't think he's started, he has not started the process. I've not seen a purchase order for that, but that would be a significant portion.
The grant will be due July 31st.
So there we go. And there still is a little bit more in that line item, but I would attribute most of that to that particular grant. And then as you can see, we have in capital outlay, we have the water tank rehab project underway. The north side tank is probably 80% complete. They anticipate opening or having that one completed the first couple of weeks of July, and then they'll move on to the south side tank. But we do have the whole amount of the project encumbered at this time, and yes, 3.5 million is encumbered at this time to cover that project. Are there any questions for water?
Just raise your hand if you have questions. Hold the door.
So without any questions, we'll move forward to the gas fund. At March 31st, revenue for gas was $2 million, and we are $1,023,000 over collected. At the beginning of the year, these are our biggest gas bills, but it also includes the 2 rate increases that one of them was imposed in November of 2024, and then they had the other, is it meter and billing? No, gas delivery charge increased as well. So when we take a look at that $996,000, $300,000 of that is being applied to the deferred gas shortage, which was $1.3 million. We've actually brought the shortage to $1 million. So we're chipping away at it with that increase that was implemented in November.
Yay.
Okay. And then, are there any questions regarding that? Because I know that was a lot I just talked
Why
about.
do we have a decrease in interest income?
We did move some money over to, let me pick up this. Oh, we moved money over from the investment fund to cover the the adjustment, that 1.3 million, or what did we put, 1.5 million at the end of the year. Whatever we didn't use, I need to move it back into the investment fund, and that'll increase the interest. However, interest rates have dropped a little bit, so we're not collecting as much as we were the past few years.
Okay.
Our expenditures in the gas fund through March 31st are 1.6 million. And we are $607,000 over budget at this time. Again, it's related to the same exact issue that I said in the revenue line item. 300,000 of that has been charged to the deferred gas cost. And then the other portion of it is the cold weather that we realized in January, that very extreme cold spell. So that would attribute to the gas overage. Any questions?
No?
Our sewer fund revenue, we are at $628,000 and $28,000 under collected. At this time last year, we did implement a rate increase on March 1st, and that rate increased revenue by $4,000 over March of last year. Again, this fund is seasonal, so we will see the majority of the activity in the next 2 quarters. It's relative to the water. Expenditures, our operating expenses are at $610,000. We are overexpended by $53,000. $56,000 of that was for the rental of a machine to do the dewatering because our jet vac was down or something was down. But anyway, that's the overage that we're seeing at the sewage treatment plant. Any questions on the sewer fund?
That was when the centrifuge was down, you said?
Is it centrifuge?
I think
Something
so.
was down. I don't know.
The jetpack, I believe we purchased the new one in
Does that do
March.
the dewatering? Whatever does dewatering was down.
Okay.
We'll move on to lottery. Our revenue's under collected by $2,600. This one's never really easy to target. Sometimes we're over collected by that much, sometimes we're under collected. It's just based on how lottery income comes forward. Our expenditures are also under expended. We're at $11,000 through March 31st. This fund is extremely seasonal. Most of the expenses will be charged off to parks maintenance, paths and trails, and of course the swimming pool. We're gonna skip tourism and go to, we're going to economic development. Economic development has very little activity. The only thing that we're seeing right now is interest. I do know that we approved a few purchase orders last week for business permitting for one of the housing now projects. So we may see a little bit more activity, but I'm anticipating that won't be till the 3rd quarter. And like I said, we'll skip tourism and we're gonna go on to capital. Capital fund revenue, sales tax revenue is down by $39,000. That's moving in conjunction with the general fund sales tax revenue. We've collected $598,000 so far. A little bit of it is grant money. Well, I take that back. A majority of it will be grant money when we get into the RAISE grant, which construction has started. We've actually paid out our first, $2.8 million to the NSF. So we'll start seeing some of that revenue coming in grant-wise when we submit for reimbursement requests. Other than that, we are at $711,000 in expenditures for the 1st quarter. Oh, we'll highlight a few. So under building, renovation of municipal buildings, we've spent $129,000. That is the community center roof repair. That was a 2023 hail damage repair. We're getting those completed. And then I believe wanna say that was about $110,000 project. I wrote that down somewhere, but it's not here. Our ADA access is also underway. We are on phase 3 and it's in progress. We see that expended so far is $232,000 on that particular project. And the Church Street and Holy Trinity projects are also underway. We'll see that activity under the DOLA Holy Trinity Apartments because those particular expenses are engineer and design costs. And the grant that particular grant is the only grant that allows for those types of costs. So they're posting in that particular line item. And then as stated earlier, the second quarter, we're gonna start seeing a lot of activity under the RAISE grant. Apparently, once that project got rolling, it's gonna be a quick turnaround, possibly 6 months to get it completed as long as they don't have any issues. Again, we'll see the revenue side of that and the expenditure side as we submit for reimbursement under the grant. There are no further questions. We'll move on to tourism. Alrighty, so in your package, you should have the new format of the tourism fund. So we're not gonna really see as much activity in the first quarter. Santa Fe Trails Days didn't get up and running until we probably started making payments in April. Also, the lodging tax collected through March is gonna be lower than what we'll collect in the next 2 quarters. So there's minimal activity. We're $51,000 under collected. You can see that 82,000 of that is because of the lodging tax. Again, it's seasonal. I'm a little concerned that it's under even more than what I anticipated it to be at this point. I'm not sure what's going on with lodging tax rentals, or hotel rentals. Our personnel, we are underexpended by $30,000. Our tourism expenses, we are underexpended by $30,000. Each department has been broken out for you. You'll see that the 20% allocated to personnel expenses for Welcome Center and Trolley. Out of $148,000, we spent $18,000. That's minimal. Out of, let's go back to the beginning. Out of $299,000 for marketing, we've spent $85,000. That does include a purchase order for Destination IQ. So the lump sum of it was encumbered at the beginning of the year. And we'll see that level out towards the end. I did ask the tourism director or manager to cut back on the advertising expenses because just in case we're not gonna collect what we think we're gonna collect this year. Recreation facilities and programs, we are underexpended by $9,500. We will see the significant amount in the next quarter because of Santa Fe Trail Days. But you'll also see the offsetting contribution donations and sales that were collected to cover the Santa Fe Trail Days. And it's just so on and so forth. Are there any other questions regarding those expenses or revenues?
Any questions?
I'm interested that you said that you directed the tourism to cut back on advertising. Is that something that you typically do? You give direction about how much money is going to be spent for marketing or advertising as the city's financial director?
Yes, we just don't want her to overexpend it. I think that she told the company we have this much money, spend it all, and I don't see that coming in. we had to pull back on the marketing. That was one that we could pull back on, so I think she reduced it by $30,000.
Because that has implications, obviously, about how the money comes back to us. If we don't advertise, if we don't market
So
the city, then there is a less likelihood that we'll have lodging tax accrued to us. So I just think it's interesting that that's the situation that we have, that we're not prioritizing that, perhaps, and I know that we're gonna have a work session coming up and we'll discuss about all these kind of things, but that just kind of struck me as odd.
So if you look at the advertising and publications, there's $300,000 budgeted. If we pull back 30,000, I think we're still gonna get the same results. We'll have to talk about it at the next meeting, so. It just doesn't leave any money to do any of the other projects, like the restaurant guide, if they wanted to do that, the passport, the summer guide. Everything has been allocated to the Destination IQ. So we want to pull that back so that she's able to budget more, or whomever takes over is able to budget more for the visitor's guide redesign, or any other types of projects that weren't considered when she said Destination IQ, you get $299,000. I didn't think that was smart budgeting, honestly. That's my opinion. And again, we can talk about it at the next meeting or work session, but that's just what I'm gonna say. I had to pull back $30,000 because what if we don't collect it?
I think this is gonna be part of a larger policy discussion that we're gonna have.
Yeah.
I
Not
get it.
necessarily relevant to first quarter financials,
I get it.
but I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I also understand and agree with Ms. Navarette that we
This is my
probably
job,
need to-
Commissioner Ogletree, or Councilman Ogletree. That's my job. It's my responsibility to make sure that our funding is meeting the requests.
I get that.
Anybody else have a question? Well, Aaron is contemplating. I kind of knew this was going to happen because January was horrible for the weather. Travel through Trinidad was pretty much non-existent. And, to your point, a budget has to be fluid. I think, when Ms. Marshall mentioned that we're going to have a policy discussion, got to see which one of these festival funding or Destination IQ, how efficient are all of them? And we have to fill that void somewhere, and that was the right thing to do. I do an unofficial walk around Trinidad, and I asked one of the ladies at the shop, said, yeah, I know you want to know how business is. I said, yeah, I really do, because it impacts all of us, but everybody so far is really happy with sales downtown, so.
That's good. That's good news.
Brighter days have come, and Cheryl.
Second quarter, we got to bank on it. We have to
Yeah.
hope that it comes in higher than what, to at least cover the shortage that we experienced in the first
Yes.
quarter.
The other thing that we're doing with tourism is exactly the opposite of what we did with marijuana funding, which is in marijuana funding, it came in and it was in the bank, and then you expended it.
Right,
With tourism funding, we're projecting
yes.
what we're gonna get, and we're spending it faster than the projections are playing out, and that's part of the discussion we're gonna have. I think that's what's causing some worry on the operations side
Yes.
of the table.
Absolutely.
Is, and maybe some caution there, is we can't spend what we don't get. We're not getting it as fast as we thought we might. So
Okay.
we need to talk holistically about how we
Yes.
spend this funding. Cheryl has suggested at a recent meeting prior to this that we go with a similar approach to this as we do with marijuana.
It's a technical term.
It's a technical term.
It's called pay as you go.
There you go. Pay as you go.
Okay. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. I do think that it would be great to have that meeting.
Yes.
and we can prioritize that. And it is obviously, I think we'd all agree, it's important we don't cut funding that's generating a revenue source for Trinidad, and that is the point of that tax, right? So it'd be helpful if we can make an informed decision. Do we still have the system that governs or that monitors phones in the area, and what, we don't have that anymore?
They let it go, it wasn't,
Okay.
I don't think it was
'Cause-
producing what they thought.
Okay, I mean anecdotally, and very anecdotally, by a casual observation, it seemed to me that Santa Fe Trail Days could have been a pretty appreciable bump in hotel stays. It seemed that way to me, so.
We'll talk about Santa Fe Trail Days at the July 7th work session. We'll talk about lodging tax discussion at July 21st's work session. Those are
Great.
on the calendar, okay?
Thank you, Sheriff, so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you, Cheryl.
Excellent
Okay,
job.
we jump back to the regular agenda. Item number 5, council reports. Erin?
Santa Fe Trail Days was wonderful, and everyone, I just get the lucky role of thanking you guys first. I know other people will for all the hard work that went into that. It was obvious, and such a great presentation of who we are. Couple of things, I attended the Creative District meeting with Ms. Marshall, as well as the Arts and Culture with Ms. Marshall, and it's been really helpful to have her there because she grasps what each one of those boards is about really well and knows how to be the right kind of leader in that regard, so that was really helpful. And the triggers need your support this year. That's all.
Are they winning or losing?
Some you win, some you win, some so you
Okay.
down.
That's a very diplomatic answer. Either, do you have anything?
Just a few, this has been mentioned before in the past few weeks, the Oris Nestus Memorial Service Friday at the Malaire Murphy Funeral Home, visitation at 10, and the service is at 1 p.m. And the Veterans Coffee and Tea Social will be next Wednesday, June 25th at the Champions Building, 127 North Commercial Street, from 10 to 11:30 a.m. Coffee and tea for veterans, their families, and guests. Compliments of Kangaroo Coffee on Commercial Street. And like Mr. Miller mentioned, there will be a food distribution tomorrow at the Los Alamos County Fairgrounds, 2000 North Linden Street in Trinidad, starting at 11 a.m.
Starts 10,
Or at 10?
10 till about 1, depending on how the food lasts.
Okay.
Mr. Schiff?
No, I have no council reports.
Mr. Trujillo?
Oh gosh, I've been so busy. No, Thursday, I went down to the senior center where the World Elder Abuse Day was celebrated again. The little informational community gathering that they have down there is really expanding year by year. So if anyone has anybody concerns with any of their senior citizens in their lives, and when that comes up next year, I do highly recommend taking them down there. The wealth of knowledge that's there, the vendors. We had a representative from the state's attorney general's office there, providing information on how to avoid scams, what new scams are out there, making people aware that these are happening, and kind of also discussing different ways to talk to your family about not having that stigma of being afraid to say, hey, this just happened to me. So that was an interesting presentation. I also want to thank Detective Arlen for being there. He is a great asset to our community. He does help our elderly community and our senior citizens and our regular citizens and young and old. But he was there presenting one-on-one to each person, whoever wanted to speak with him, about concerns that they have in their community and in their private life, with phone calls that end up draining their account, which is really a sad thing that happens. So that was that, and I'd like to thank everybody that went there. And next year, please bring more people out, because we love to make these things grow, because we love seeing people. Santa Fe Trail Festival, thank you to all the staff and volunteers and every employee that we have just made it amazing. I talked to people all the way as far as Las Vegas, New Mexico that came up just to see the concert. And then also came to check out our shops downtown. People that had never been to Trinidad actually came up because of what we had going on. So each year, I think it's just gonna keep growing and growing and making this community stronger and stronger. So I'd like to thank everybody. I don't even know how to say thank you enough for that, because it was great. I had a great time, and I think everybody else that was there had a great time.
I
So-
didn't.
Oh, you did? Oh,
No, I'm just.
Oh, shit, you had mosquitoes.
Neiman,
Nothing to report, except for I just want to say Parks and Rec. Believe it or not, a lot of those people down at Parks and Rec are pickleball players. So they're just sitting there waiting, chomping at the bit, like, all right, when are we gonna play? I'm like, well, it's not necessarily about you playing. It's about, it's like, yeah, whatever you say. Let's just play some pickleballs. Nothing to report there, except for that. I think they might be a little concerned about merging with different boards. So other than that, nothing solid.
I just reiterate the praise about Santa Fe Trail Days. I think it was wonderfully orchestrated and pulled off very well. I do think it has a lot of potential to grow year on year, and it was a fairly incredible story, but a telemarketer call that I got from India connected me to a person in Colorado Springs that was bringing an entire family for the festival. That's a story in and of itself, but it does really make the point that it seemingly was well attended from around the state. So hopefully that's something that grows. Thank you. And then secondly, I'd mention Gunny brought up the funding situation, and I'm sorry I don't have the information with me, but I will obtain information from the AAA program from the South Central Council of Government and bring a very brief report next week that will update us as to the status and health of the food distribution. So I'll bring that to the next meeting. That's all I have there.
I have nothing but kudos for staff and anybody involved in the Santa Fe Trail Festival. I know this is repetitive to hear, but I would be remiss in my duty as the mayor not to express my thanks, and for everybody that worked tirelessly, not just for last weekend, but for months planning. And I'll tell you, the plan and the layout of the festival this year was very efficient, and it really worked out well. And I will tell you, Chief Backrack looked like a frickin' lobster at the end of the day. But he's a champ, man. He was there the whole time too with everybody. So thank you all. Thank you so much. Item number 6 is consent agenda approval. Item 6A, approval of the regular meeting minutes of June 3rd, 2025. And there was noted in there a correction. Item 6B, approval of bills totaling $1,257,423.40. Of that amount, $489,890.65 went to the water tank renovation project. Item 6C, approval of payroll June 7th, 2025 through June 20th, 2025. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Shu moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that you, Neiman?
Yep.
Okay. Thurman seconded. Call the vote, please.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Grader.
Yes. Item 7, public hearings, we have none. Item 8, unfinished business, we have none. Item 9A, consideration of bid results for the asphalt paving project number 07-2025.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Mr. Nels, Tara, everybody.
Good evening, sir.
I come before you tonight. We received bids for an asphalt project here in town. We received 4 bids. Walsenburg Sand and Gravel was the low bidder, $320,664.27. The project basically entails the overlay of Garrett Drive, where past water main project left the street in disarray. The overlay of Saddle Road and County Road. And this makes a lot of sense because this is going to butt in and tie into Wauwatoya Way, which is being currently constructed right now by Durant Ventures. So the good thing is the same Walsenburg Sand and Gravel is their paving contractor as well. So the coordination is going to work out good because he gets to handle the projects. We're going to do a block of San Juan. With the project coming in at underway, we have $1 million set aside for capital improvement for the paving project. We would like to probably extend the San Juan project, maybe a block, maybe if not 2 more, because the funds are available. And we also have to do some asphalt up on Adams and Grant for our DOJ project because our counter slopes came in too steep, so there's going to be a little bit of paving have to happen at that intersection. And then finally, we're doing the drive to the wastewater plant. It goes along the old brickyard, our bricks asphalt plant. That road or drive is in disarray, and as you know, they're getting a brand new back truck. So I hate to beat up that new truck because it's full of potholes. So anyway, any questions?
Here, Mr. Dust, is the 680, is that right, that's left of the $1 million that's assigned to this? Are you thinking that that's all going to be used in expanding these projects, or are there any others that you're thinking later on this year that we might want to allocate those funds for?
I don't anticipate using all of that. My thought is there's a few things that other projects that we're doing that we'd like to roll over into the paving project because it's road repair type work too. Non-ADA curb and gutter type projects. So to answer your question, I don't anticipate using all of that 680.
I know that we have lots of different places around town that need this kind of work.
Correct.
And so I just wondered if that's what you were thinking, or we can hear more later. All right, thank you.
I have no questions.
Frank?
No, other than thank you for taking care of Mr. Reno in that area there, because that was a real bad area. I know you're working on it. Appreciate that.
Manny?
Nothing but thank you. Thank you. He's gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Just. Appreciate you.
Mr. Just, first off, would you mind detailing what you did to help Santa Fe Trail project? I'm sorry, Santa Fe Trail Days. I'm just kidding.
His daughter graduated college, so let's be very excited about that this weekend.
That was humor. And congratulations. Bob, I don't know who did the work or who is responsible for it, so I'm just using it as an example. I do know, or at least I think, that overlays sometimes result in the elimination of gutter and curb as that overlay climbs. A good example is over there in Colorado, and I mean, that's led to a lot of problems. People continually drive down the island, and then they ruin our sprinkler infrastructure and that sort of stuff. The overlay projects that we're doing, how is that problem going to be mitigated, or what is being done there?
Good question. So on Saddle Road and County Road, where we do have curb gutter and sidewalk. Part of that repair that we did, or that replacement of the sewer line, not replacement, it was a new sewer line. We removed the existing asphalt, and when we patched back in, we left it 2 inches lower. Now, there are a couple of areas, like in front of Marty Coca's house, that where the project was on the opposite side of the street, so we're gonna have to mill. So there's gonna be some milling done on that street. So, basically, at the end of the day, the new asphalt will abut the edge of, or the lip of the curb the way it should be.
Okay, and that's gonna be basically project-wide where applicable.
Okay, correct. Garrett doesn't have any curb and gutter, so that's a no-brainer. Just come in with an overlay. We don't have to deal with curb gutter or sidewalk or EDA requirements. So that's what drives a lot of asphalt projects. You gotta have the EDA in place, you know.
Right.
San Juan we're taking it out completely. We don't know what happened there. That asphalt's not, I mean, time flies, but I want to say it's 15, 20 years old when it was put in. And it's shrunk, it's pulled away from the curbs, and it's got lateral cracking. Like when you're driving down it, you hit every 40 feet, there's a lateral crack, so. And then the asphalt up against the east edge, Mr. DeBono's house in that area, it's completely gone. It just fell apart, I don't know. So, like I said, we would like to probably extend that project, because we did, that was the great thing, is we did get all the ADA in place last summer, the curb cuts, a couple blocks further north on San Juan, so that affords us the ability to go further north. Because, especially with the project coming in under budget.
All right, well, thank you for your attention to that. Appreciate it. I have no other questions, Mayor.
So is San Juan past Atchison, is that asphalt bad too?
It is. It's pulled away. That project, when it was done, I think it went at least 3 blocks north of Stonewall. So, I don't know, there was something wrong with the mix. I don't know what happened, but it shrunk. And that was a complete street rebuild when
I
they did it.
remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. On the Garrett Drive and what is it, Nona? Was there, no, Saddle Road, sorry. Saddle
No problem.
Road. Close but not, no cigars.
Perpendicular, you're right.
Were there contractors that did that damage to those for the work they did, or was it the city crew that had to do the cuts for the work under those two, like on Garrett Drive? Because I went by there the other day and there's a patch missing, and then you go a while and there's a patch and a patch.
Garrett Drive was, for some reason, there was a bad, when that water line was put in, and usually C900 plastic lasts forever, but notoriously, and Mark could tell you that they kept having water breaks out there.
Okay.
The pipe would break, it was split, and I don't know if it was a bad batch of when they made that pipe, but that's what happened. So ultimately, what Mark did is his crew went in and they put in a brand new main and tied in the services to the new main, because they were constantly doing repairs out there. That's how that evolved.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like contractors that make those cuts into the asphalt, they're responsible for repairing the road, correct?
That's correct, but
Okay.
that was all done
That was all city.
internally. It was
Okay.
us.
Okay. Alrighty, I have no questions, no other questions. Call for the vote, please.
I need a motion.
I thought we did already, sorry.
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Shu, thank you. Second? Eli seconded. Call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Trahell?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. Item 9B, consideration, thank you, Mr. Just. Consideration of conveyance of 165 East First Street to the city of Trinidad.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, members of council, this is just background on the property at 165 East First Street. The Trinidad Fire Department responded to a fire there on January 9th of 2023. Subsequently after that, the building was noticed later that month on January 20th and then condemned later that year on November 14th. Multiple notices were issued in 2014 and ultimately the city ended up enclosing the property with fencing after a top portion of the wall fell onto the sidewalk and street on October 30th, 2024. The property owner was issued a ticket from municipal court on October 31st. Mr. Downs, our city attorney, who's also responsible for municipal court, met with the property owner who proposed to convey the building to the city. We brought that to you in last meeting, the 1st of June, and the city council voted to table the item pending 3 questions. Those questions were, what are the options for the building? What are the probable costs for remediation? And what's the current tax status of the property? So I've compiled those options and those costs. It should bear saying that currently the city has expended just over $13,000 on the fencing of the property, first in rental and then in purchasing the fence. We've provided you with 4 options, one being accepting conveyance of the building and remediating it, the other 3 options being not accepting conveyance of the building and what the possible outcomes might be in those. We've also given you probable cost of remediation. I want to just stress that these are all approximate costs. We base them on similar buildings that we have remediated or worked with property owners to remediate. We broke down the square footage cost for each of those items and based this square footage cost off of this, but we've provided you with probable costs for testing, abatement, demolition, disposal and clearance testing fees, and landfill disposal fees to give you a total probable cost of remediation. Additionally, we spoke with the county and the total property taxes owed, which are just over $26,000. But keep in mind, those aren't all property taxes. Those are also liens to the property, $13,000 of which is our lien to the property for the fencing. So I had received a question from one of you yesterday about whether the county would waive those taxes. And of course, I can't speak on behalf of the county, but they would not be able to waive the liens, if that helps. But $13,000 of that 26 is our lien. Okay?
Okay.
I hope this gives you enough information, but I'm happy to answer questions. I also want to defer to Mr. Downs when it comes to any liability questions that you might have over the options presented.
Do you want to say anything there, Mr. Downs?
Well,
Or just wait?
I could just wait.
Okay.
I'm gonna listen and
Okay.
answer any questions or just wait and maybe weigh in at the conclusion.
Aaron Williamson, do you have any questions?
Great job.
I'll wait till the end, Mayor.
Mr. Thurman,
No questions.
Mr. Trujillo.
Yeah, so I'm sure this is supposed to be like a discussion, but I wasn't sure where we were gonna go with this, but so I was just like curious on the options. I'm going through there. Okay, so looking at not taking possession of the building is pretty much just clearing the liability.
Well, it depends on which option,
So
and I'll
let's
let Mr. Downs speak. Do you have an option you want to speak to?
Yeah, so I'm curious about option 3. So
Option 3, where the city does not accept conveyance of the building, but based on continued liability mitigates the property.
right, so that it pretty much in layman's terms, we tear it down, we don't take the title, we've cleared the blight, but the owner retains ownership of the property, we lien it, once again, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
I think that's right. We would lean for the demo.
Okay.
Any costs?
Okay, so that's just clarification on that one. And then taking the title on that property would mean that we're fully liable for everything all the way down?
Option 1,
Option 1.
where
yes,
we
ma'am.
accept conveyance of the building.
So if I could please, I think we would be liable
for anything that might happen to that building, right? If anybody gets damaged, injury, property damage, they're going to sue the city. So no matter what, there will be liability if anything happens to the building. Just if I could say, regarding option number 3, in a way, to me, that seems like the least attractive of the options, because if the city, and I'm not trying to make argument for you guys doing anything, I'm really not, but if you took title to the property, then you could sell the property once it was abated and remediated.
Les, for the sake of public record, would it be possible for you to just briefly outline the 4 options and the cost associated, just briefly, for the public record?
Well, the costs.
You want me to do that?
It's about the same. If we remediate, it's gonna be the same.
I mean,
And
right, and I want to kind of do what Councilman Williamson has asked me to do. I would just say the costs, like a lot of them are kind of contingencies.
Right.
Do you want me to go over those for the record?
I think it's appropriate.
Okay, and, well, is that okay?
Sure.
This is your hard work. But first of all, and this is, the second page of the council communication, question number 2, probable costs of remediation. These costs are all approximate. First of all, testing, $20,000. That testing would be for all hazardous materials, including lead paint and asbestos. If the city owned the building, it might be possible to use existing or future grant funding to do that testing. I do want to say here that Dr. Lowe did assure me up and down, I know we couldn't just rely on those assurances, but he assured me up and down that there was no asbestos and there was no lead paint. Just want to say that. The $20,000 for testing, that's cost number 1. Abatement of any hazards, all costs determined based on square footage of a previously abated commercial property. $16,000 lead paint if present throughout the building, $20,000 for asbestos if present throughout the building, and $20,000 in disposal fees and clearance testing. So those are the costs if those things exist, and what it would be to remediate and dispose of those items. Next bullet point, demolition. $65,000 to $80,000. Demolition of the property would require some special skill so as to not damage the existing party wall of the neighboring historic building. This is difficult to determine without a specific bid process, but again, approximately $65,000 to $80,000. Landfill disposal fees, $8,000 based on a 2,840 square foot building. The debris is estimated to be between 220 and 300 tons. The total probable remediation costs of $164,000 plus tax liability costs. So.
And those are general fund, I should have added that, those would be general fund costs, not CIP.
But those would be reduced if there wasn't lead paint or asbestos or disposal fees, and also would be reduced by being able to sell at the conclusion. I just wanted to make that little argument at the conclusion. Just kidding.
Okay.
Is any study performed or general inquiry to potential realtors or people interested? I mean, what's the?
It's difficult to approach a potential realtor about a property you don't own, but I believe option 4 said if you decided not to take conveyance of the building, that the city could try and work with the current property owner to look and see if there was a possibility of that person obtaining a third party through a process you just described. At this point, the request has been made for the city to take conveyance of the building, and we're asking for that decision. We're just offering a 4th option would be to go down the road you just mentioned.
Raymond, do you have any questions?
I was just wondering, what would be the perk of the city owning that building and keeping that building?
We've given you all of the options and all of the policy questions. I think at this point,
Gotcha.
there's advantages and disadvantages to every single option. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's
Right.
Okay.
But I don't think we'd want to own the.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Keep that property. You want to get it off the books. Okay.
Okay, reclaiming my time, no.
Sorry, sorry.
No, I just had a question that I kind of wish we had, and I should have asked it the last time, but knowing that selling an empty lot is what we would be looking at, is that what, just for clarification?
I believe so.
If we owned it and you did option one, which would be own it, remediate it for potentially $164,000 and then sell it. I believe it was mentioned in the last presentation to you that the approximate cost at the highest would be $50,000 to sell the lot. I haven't verified that, I haven't spoken with the real estate agent.
But that was a potential
That was
reclaim.
part of the last meeting that was mentioned.
Okay, I don't know, I must have missed that, or I didn't catch it, I apologize. Yeah, that helps me kind of, yeah, that helps me know where I want to be, you just don't want us to get to that point.
Mr. Shu?
No, I'm against it, period.
Mr. DeBono?
To me, none of the options look attractive. City manager, Ms. Marshall gave us option 4, the third party could be an option. But, boy, I'm kind of leaning towards, I was in favor of it before, of actually the city taking it over, but I'm not so sure right now. I'm kind of mixed in between that, so. If the city can actually get that, spend the $50,000 for the parking lot and come out in the black, that would be a plus, but I don't know right now. I'm kind of torn in between everything. Like you said, it's kind of a no-win, either way you look at it. There's negatives and positives on all 4 options. Do you have a coin I can flip real quick?
Yeah.
We've been flipping it all week. That's what we're doing.
Erin?
So, just so I make sure I understand, are you saying that we did some kind of comp study and we thought the most that possibly you could get from a cleared lot is $50,000?
No, we did not do a study. I did not verify that with real estate agents. That was mentioned at the council meeting on June 3rd that it might sell for that.
Okay.
It was, I did not verify that amount.
Well, because if that's all that we could possibly get out of it, it doesn't look like a good deal at all. On the other hand, if we have some potential idea as a city of what we would do with that property, it's in an interesting location. It's across from the police department. It's across from the courthouse. So it's not a terrible location, but I would really like us to have some idea that benefits the city before we go down this road, other than that we're just relieving, basically what we're doing is relieving this gentleman of a very real problem that he has and making it our problem. It's not good, it's ugly, it's an eyesore. So that's something, that's a downside for leaving it the way it is. I kind of feel like if there were other people who were interested, if there was a third party, they might have come forward. But it's pretty daunting to look at that and say, okay, well, it's gonna have all these remediation costs and then to make it a usable piece of property. This is one of those, this is not a winner.
No.
This is not a winner.
No chicken dinner.
No, there's no good answer to this one.
Can I ask Frank why are you
No,
against it?
I don't need to answer that.
Okay, I just want to know if that's something you want to share. But we can do that later.
I haven't spoken yet, so. Let me put my 2 cents worth in for whatever. When we started this meeting and Ms. Navarette went through the financials, the general fund, which is where the money is coming from for this project, is in the red right now. And the general fund, correct me if I'm wrong, but the general fund pays for the PD and the fire department, correct? Those are the 2 highest expensed departments in the city. I really, for a number of reasons, I'm not in favor of taking ownership of this property. First and foremost is because the money, we need that money in the general fund. Number two, there's 2 or 3 other buildings within half-mile radius of that building that could have the same thing. And we can't continue fishing, for lack of better words, fishing people out of a problem they have by just taking the problem over. I looked at the assessor's site today, and I think that lot is only 5,000 square feet. It's not a big lot. I mean, it kind of looks big because the property is on rafters on the back. So, you know, for my, and mostly for financial reasons, I just don't feel that Trinidad is flush with cash that we can do this right now.
Can I ask one more question, just as a follow-up? Is there a possibility of remediation short of demolishing it, but making it, like, one of the options was make it maintenance more or something, make it safe, and leave it as is? Is there any assessment of whether that could happen, or does it need to be knocked down?
The cost of making it structurally stable would outweigh, it would be much higher than the cost of demolition.
Okay.
Fire degrades a building and it continues to degrade over time, as is evidenced by it beginning to fall into the sidewalk. Did that answer your
It
question?
did, thank you.
Okay.
Pardon, do you want?
May I?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm just kind of just weighing this in because this is a big decision, you know.
Sure.
So looking at future liability, you know, because it could be multiple lots. Let's say, but it is the reason we're doing this is to avoid this situation. You know, sitting back and looking at somebody gets hit, that's liability by a falling brick. Somebody goes in there, a piece falls down, that's another section, right? That's another lawsuit. Somebody walks under the outside in the back where they're squatting and that deck falls down, that's another lawsuit. So potentially we may be looking into a lot more money later on. So costing us way more than tearing it down. My other thing that I'm running through my head is as well is how much did we spend on First Street?
1.8.
It was a lot of money.
So it's a beautiful, beautiful street that is littered with 1, 2, 3, 4 blighted buildings. So we invested all of that money to have that seen is what I'm looking at. And I don't understand it. I know it's gonna cost us, but in the long run, I'm feeling it's gonna cost us more. And it worries me that we're gonna have another Opera House situation where we're gonna have to put another balcony out there that people can utilize the sidewalk. Our fence is in the middle of the sidewalk, I think, right now, so that's actually cutting ADA access that I'm looking at. It's difficult because of the position that we're in, but I'm thinking in my mind that I would rather see this for our community cleaned up, especially if we're gonna be a tourism-driven community. They're not gonna wanna come to a town that is filled with blight, is what I'm seeing. That's just kinda how I'm looking at it and trying to justify it out loud verbally. So, that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
I did have a question. Has Tura been contacted in any capacity? I mean, do they have?
So urban renewal is always a possibility for blight. However, for urban renewal to take over a parcel, they need to be able to turn a sales tax on that. That's how they bond.
Oh, that's right.
So for urban renewal to bond, to be able to remediate the building and have the money, they need to be able to turn sales tax. The challenges are the size of the lot.
So, if I may, Mayor, I very much appreciate Councilman Trujillo's concern you know, he brings up a lot of really valid points, but the fact of the matter is, it is 100% a problem. It's a question as to whose problem it is, though, and I understand that doesn't alleviate liability. I understand that. But, I mean, ultimately, the mayor makes a super valid point. We have a general budget that's already strained, and, I mean, this would double the deficit we're already seeing pretty easily, and I'm not certain, you know, we can't bank on it getting better, you know, quickly. So the problem isn't going away. We can readdress it again in several months, and in the meantime, I think that whatever means to cause it to be rehabilitated, or not rehabilitated, but you know, mitigated until then, we can put pressure on that. But I think it'd be folly to bail it out, I think.
Anything else? Final last words? Okay, I need a motion. And when you make the motion that what option you want. So point of information, Mr. Downs. So if we do one option and it's defeated, then do I ask for this, another option to vote on?
Well, I would say, if I understand the consensus of council correctly, you guys are not wanting to accept the conveyance that has been offered. I think that's the majority consensus. So I would say there would be a motion to not accept the conveyance or reject the conveyance.
Well, we can ask for option number 4. That means we're not out of the situation. We can try and help him find resources for it.
You can. I would just say that you can do that at any time. I mean, we can assist, because that's just a little vague. The city assists the property owner in locating potential new owners of property. I wouldn't want to commit us in any way to be obligated to help, right? So it's an option for discussion and kind of a path going forward, but I don't think you want that as a formal action.
The options weren't meant to formulate the motion.
Okay.
They were meant to guide the discussion.
Okay. All right. So that makes it easier, ladies and gentlemen.
I'd make the motion to not accept the conveyance of 165 East First Street to the city of Trinidad.
Second.
Mr. DeBono seconded. Mr. Rouge and Mr.
Mr.
Shue.
Shue
I'm sorry.
seconded.
You guys are related. It's
It's the same thing.
Mr. Shue seconded. Call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Trahell?
No.
Ogletree?
No.
Williamson?
I'm confused.
Motion to reject the conveyance. So a yes vote would reject the conveyance.
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. Yeah.
What was the final vote?
Motion passed.
Pardon me?
4-2.
Okay.
So we're not accepting
5 to
Correct. Right.
Okay.
Thank you. I know that was hard.
Yeah, thank you.
It is hard. That's why we get paid the big bucks up here. Okay, item 10, reports by city manager and city attorney.
Goodness, my notes got buried in the notes. Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I'm going to start and end with 2 exciting events to report out on. The first one I want to report out on is the library summer reading program. It kicked off this last week on June 11th with the foam party at Central Park. We had in the first session 144 kids attend and participate. In the second session, we had 241 kids attend and participate. That's an amazing number of kids at the park. As of yesterday, 130 children have registered for the summer reading program. 34 kids under the age of 4, 60 kids between 5 and 10, and 36 kids between 11 and 18. So that's exciting. Not only Did we have that excitement at Chimino Park? But the splash pad opened this week. So it was great if you were able to drive, excuse me, drive by this weekend. Kids were all over the park with water everywhere. Also, the pool heater is up and running, yay. We were open, the pool was open this past week, but it was a little cold. It's now getting warmer, and we expect to be full bore ahead this summer. For the funeral regarding Mr. Mestis, it will be Friday at Murphy-Miller Funeral Home at 1 o'clock. I have 2 council members that have RSVP'd and 2 that are letting me know tomorrow, so a potential of 4 of you. I wanted to let you know that the fire truck will be on hand with the large flag. I believe Miss Linda Barron has been working with Mr. Murphy, and we're going to see quite a showing from the veterans in the downtown, and also the police will be on hand to provide escort for the funeral. The police chief position will be posted this week. I met with the department yesterday morning to go over any final changes to the job description. We approved it today. It will be posted by the end of the week. It will be open for 30 days, closing between July 20th and 25th. They have just finished a similar search in Monte Vista. That search yielded 13 qualified candidates. They spoke with the Monte Vista city manager, and they're very excited about working with KRW in that search. I've been meeting with city commissions this month. I've met with Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission, Historic Preservation, Trinidad Urban Renewal, Parks and Rec, Art and Culture, Urban Forestry, Main Street, and Creative District. It's been wonderful to go out and meet with all the volunteers. I expect to meet with the library board next week, and I've got a meeting scheduled with the 2 members of our lodging tax board coming up. We're also going to be bringing forward in future work sessions new board members for your pleasure to interview, hoping we can flesh out these boards. Next month, I will be beginning outreach to strategic government and nonprofit partners. That'll be my next outreach plan. That's going to include the County and Emerging Campus on July 1, and then the Office of Economic Development and International Trade will be in town July 10th, and then we're going to have a real estate tour come through on the 11th, particularly centered around the sale of the Columbian Hotel. So I will have more details as we go forward with that. We're looking forward to a robust work session on Monday the 23rd. We'll be introducing a new employee from the gas department. We've announced his name, but he'll be here to meet you. We'll also be bringing forward a reorganization of the city department. So the reorganization will be budget neutral. I'll be looking forward to explaining that to you next work session. We'll also be bringing forward a reminder about a work session you did in February with ARPA. It's for the development of a small solar farm adjacent to the wastewater treatment plant. We're going to remind you of that on June 23rd, because in July we're going to be bringing forward the rental agreement and the transmission agreement. And so we'll be looking for your questions there. Just a reminder, I'm attending the CML conference next week along with a few of you, leaving late on Tuesday, and I'll be out of town on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Chief Dave Bacharach will be assuming the acting city manager role in my absence during this time, so do not hesitate to give him a hard time while I'm out of town. Finally, I'm excited to announce, and many of you have said how successful Santa Fe Trail Days was. We'll be bringing you a full report on Monday, July 7th. The nitty, the gritty, the fun, the colorful, the pictures, the sounds, the tastes, everything. But I do want to report out to you, just kind of as a teaser, that the sponsorships the city raised this year are in excess of the $30,000 that Ms. Navarette mentioned we budgeted for it. So get excited and be ready to hear about how well financially we did this year. I'm sure you'll look forward to hearing about it. I want to give my deepest thanks to city staff, to the sponsors, to the vendors, and to the community that participated. I could call out city staff, but you would be ready to go home by the time I finished listing all the names of the people who worked their tails off. Each and every one of these folks made this year's event successful, meaningful, and amazing for our community. And then in closing, on a personal note, my family was in town this last week. When you offered me the position and I accepted, we moved the family reunion from Tulsa to Trinidad. So aunts and uncles were traveling all over the downtown, eating, staying in a hotel, traveling in and out of shops, and it was really neat and special for me to see the perspective of the city through my family that visited. So if you ever doubt how special the place we live in, just invite a few of your family members to visit, and you kind of get a perspective about exactly how special we are. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Downs.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Just a few things to report on and talk to you about. The first one is regarding CML, which is going to be coming up, as Ms. Marshall said, coming up this week. We need to ask you to allow Councilman Trujillo to be the voting member at CML. As you know, there were a number of, and this isn't an action item, this was a big source of controversy in councils, several councils ago, but because Councilman Trujillo is going to be going, and because you, Mayor, I don't believe are planning on going, it's appropriate, because I believe he is the equivalent of the Mayor Pro Tem for CML.
It's a poor excuse, but we'll take it.
Yeah, right. I just want to make sure that there's no controversy subsequent that, you know, if Councilman Trujillo is the voting member representing council at the CML conference this year. I hate to have to report on this, but I feel compelled. This is the second thing. I feel compelled to have to do this. Yesterday was our monthly municipal court day, and we had a grand total of 6 cases on the docket. One of the cases was a trial that was being continued. We knew it was being continued, but it was appropriate for the judge to take action on the record, so that left a grand total of 5 cases. That involves everything cited into Muni Court for that time period, where the June date is the return date. That includes traffic, animal, code enforcement, misdemeanors. I just want you to know, we had a grand total of 5 cases. So anyway, that's for you to talk about and think about, but our numbers are way low. As I was looking at the numbers, that Cheryl was talking about in terms of the numbers coming in, the income for municipal court, I just kind of was wondering about that. The last thing is, I would like to join in Tara's comments regarding Santa Fe Trail, Tara's comments and all of your comments. It was incredible. What a great event, and the second year of the city having done this, man, does it seem like it improved just from last year. As the mayor said, the layout seemed to be wonderful, but I do want to thank, as all of you have done and Tara did, thank all the sponsors. That's a tremendous amount of money, and what a great thing. The vendors were wonderful and so plentiful. There were so many of them. I would say the marijuana industry was pretty well represented at Santa Fe Trail Days, because a lot of those tents were from marijuana facilities. But also the city staff, it was incredible to see so many people working so hard for so long in the heat and just absolutely killing it all weekend long. But I want to just give a shout out to the engine room, the driving force behind all of this, which from what I can tell consists of Audra, Kimberly, and Felicia this year. They really moved the ball and did everything they needed to organize and move it. So, but that is all I have, Mayor and Council. Thank you. Thank you.
Item 11 on the agenda is adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Shue, second by Mr. Williamson. Call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Trahell?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Williamson?
Affirmative.
Griego?
Yes. Have a good evening.